software we use, that is our proprietary. Again, for timeliness, this report was ready for publication as at 25th of December. In fact, there was no Christmas for our team. But because this is the maiden edition, it has to be launched, it has to be tested, we have to wait till today. The second quarter will be released on or before the 30th of March. Because we...
Thank you, Department of Finance. Like one of the speakers said earlier, first of all, let me commend the effort of LCCI for this novel initiative, and let me thank the presenter also for a job well done. For those of us in the university system, one of the problems we have seen over the years is the unreliability of data by government agencies. And like somebody pointed out, it's because of political collaboration that comes along with such data. So like I want to believe that most of us will be very much comfortable with this type of thing coming from the private sector. It will be more useful for a rigorous analysis and objective decision making. Now, I'm excited about the fact that the presenter also domesticated the OECD question, because it was one of the things I was going to raise, and I thank you for that.
I want to know if there was a variable or proxy variable for measuring government policy direction, because for foreign investors or for investors which ultimately affects business, if you give them any reason to doubt policy direction, they flee. So I don't know if there's anything like that that was part of the research.
Starting my career from where you are now, that is why I think after this meeting it will be important for me to see you and maybe fine-tune how we can move forward on this initiative and some other initiatives. We, apart from government policy makers, investors, we have the academia in mind when we're putting this together. And there's a question you asked, can we have the indicator that's impacted most positively and least positively, that is the worst negative in the model? I think is there in the full report. And access to credit is the worst, and the return about minus 40-something%. You know, but we also have the best, that return plus 66%. I think that is on the plan for investment. Just to answer that, state governors and the ministers of commerce, planning and finance will get the hard copy of this document. But in our mailing list for hard copy, we have about 800. Of course, these are some of the costs. This is very, very, very expensive. This initiative is not too late. It's very, 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 very expensive. But we decided to internalize the first edition and probably the second edition. And all the comments are good, but if there is no funding, I can assure you, the Labour Chamber cannot carry this volume for 4 times. It's not possible. We're calling for funding. And my colleague from Meristem, okay, thank God I work for BGL in this capacity at a point. I'm living there to First Bank and here now. So I know the concern. And one of those issues we raised is about disclosure. Yeah, we'll disclose everything, both the PowerPoint and the Excel document. The presentation itself, live, will be on YouTube. Where's our YouTube partner? LCCI YouTube, so you just want to listen to it on your bed or your iPad. So both the visual, the PowerPoint, and the Excel sheet will be on the website. Though for the visual, it takes all like 3 days to upload, but the ones I can control will be uploaded this afternoon. So we're going to have it. In terms of timeliness, okay, I mentioned before that part of the model we agree with the technical partners is that we release it first last week of the former of the former quarter, or at most 7th day of the first month in the current quarter. So we have about 2 weeks flexibility in terms of reporting timelines. For now, maybe we'll graduate into putting the exact seconds or hour. I'm not going to promise what those are the destinations we should be working towards. In terms of whether we are able to fill the pulse of Nigerian locals before choosing those indicators we use to proxy the local content. Yes, if you go to our website, there's what we call business environment reports. I was on channels before Christmas to defend that report. It's the latest report now, where we ask all the sectors what are the key issues we have in 2012. What are the major business drivers, both positive and negative? So it's from the aggregate response that we pick the 7 most impacting issues they told us, which we added into this model. So that has been done, but we'll keep on doing that. We're also going to be, in terms of feedback, somebody was talking about feedback, and it's my treasurer. Yes, the feedback mechanisms are there to say, okay, the part of the report here today is that hotel and tourism posted the highest positive. In March, we should be able to know whether it is true or not. We have to correlate and find out whether how far is our forecast true. You know, if we get maybe 10 to 5%, then we're doing very, very well. So we make all of this very, very. And again, we're not here to disgrace the 125 years institution. It's not possible. We're going to respect the institution because it's older than my own father. I will do our best. Thank you very much.
Unfortunately, that's where we are at the moment. We in Central Bank we've been making proposals that this 1 month, every month, you gather and share a huge amount of resources, and then once it gets into the system, it creates problem for us in terms of monetary operations. Now we don't like it. Now we will prefer a situation where the sharing is done either weekly or twice a month. That way we'll be able to smoothen the implication, for monetary operations. Unfortunately, the fiscal federalism we're operating, is a major constraint. For some of the chairs of government, that might be okay, but for some, they will rise up in arms, to resist it. So it's something that we are pushing, and we pray that one of these days they will come to reason with us and see the rationale, for doing that. But it creates a lot of problem for us. When people blame the central bank that we are responsible for the high interest rate regime, unfortunately, if the government has appetite to borrow, that is the result we get. Check any economy where the government is borrowing huge resources from the private sector. That's through the floating instruments, debt instruments. And if the return on it is attractive, naturally, that is what you get. So Nigeria is not an exception. It happens everywhere. Then we for those of people listening to who read the papers on Tuesday or watched the television on Monday was that inhibit production. Like I mentioned, access to credit seems to be a major challenge rather than interest. I'm sure if people have access and they know that if they borrow at the existing interest rate that they will still make a return, they will borrow, but the funds are not even there in the first place for them to access. Then the issue of infrastructure, particularly power. Power is a binding constraint on economic activity in Nigeria. And like I often said, if we're able to tackle the issue of energy, power in particular, this country is capable of growing at 10% for a sustained period of time before we start lending. And that's why the current improvement in I was happy when Mr. Wani made the presentation and reported the feedback on power, and it's positive. And we can attest to that. But he also raised the caveat between now and May. Is this sustainable? Usually during dry season.
Distinguished people here, I'm very happy that we have this day. So we at the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, it's like a dream come true. It's something we've been talking about among ourselves. How do we advocate if we don't have adequate information? If we are not in position to generate our own information, if we rely on information from other people, then this is what we are having today. And we are happy that we, at the first Chamber of Commerce, not only in Nigeria, in the sub-region, we are blazing the trail. We are the first to have this index. And I'm happy that we have not got it wrong by bringing in Mr. Wani into the team. And what everybody has been talking about is the sustainability. I believe with the kind of team we have in place, bearing unforeseen circumstances when it comes to funding, I think it's something we should be able to sustain, like we have been sustaining the Lagos International Trade Fair for the last 27 years. The presentation we have today has been, I want to say, is in 3 parts. The first part to sell the idea of business confidence index to us, the background to the computation or to the calculation of the business confidence index, and finally the endorsement by the Central Bank, the World Bank, FIG, and other agencies of the government. We have been opportune to have Mr. Nwani as the head of our research team, who is leading this research work. Like he told us, a lot of work went into this exercise, which will be a continuous one, and that survey will continue to be carried out. We have to appeal to our people to always respond. It's in our interest to have the index. Like Mr. Debussy, am I right, said, anything measurable is anything manageable. Yes. With this kind of index with us, we'll be in position to manage our economy and the better for all of us. Like I said, he said about 16,000 questionnaires were sent out, 2,000 received back, 544 were analyzed to get the report we are having today. This and various parameters in rating the various variables, where he tried to explain the optimistic, all this he told us about. And the model which Nigeria one is based on